Yesterday, I played a poker game where I booked one of the biggest losses of my life. I was devastated. I felt like a complete failure. But then, the next night, something kind of insane happened. At a completely different poker place, I was playing a poker tournament with one of my friends when I ran into the game runner that had put together the stream from the other night. It turns out that today, he's running the exact same live stream as before. I leave Austin tomorrow, so I have one last chance to make it all back and then some. And I wasn't gonna let that go to waste.
We're back at One Star Social. It's the place where I'm stealing his mojo in a vlog. We're late, so we have to get this freaking thing recorded ASAP. Last time I was here, I lost a shit ton of money and I punted it all off in a double board PLO bomb pot, which sucks. So I'm not gonna do that again today. Strategy is going to be to stack this kid very early and then ride the high of that for the rest of the stream. Just kidding. But in all seriousness, yeah, we need to make money today. We're down a lot on the stream. Not as much as him though. I used to be feeling a lot of pressure to do well today because of how poorly I did yesterday. But I decided that I'm not going to try to prove anything to anybody. I'm just going to play my game, and whatever happens, happens. It's poker at the end of the day. I still Corey just walks up to me and goes, yeah, I really want to sit next to you. Why is that, Corey?
I want to take your chips.
A gentleman. Said nobody ever. Such a freak. Look at that smile. Freaky, yeah.
A couple days later, and we're back. It's the same stream, same stakes, but a completely different group of people that I was very excited about playing with. Unlike last time, everybody that was actually seated at this table had been personally selected by me and Brittany in order to play. Sitting down, I knew that this game was going to be equally as big, if not bigger, than the one last time. But when the stream starts, we get off to a very embarrassing start, because over there in the corner, Corey and I are taking selfies. Damn, I might have to drop these in. They were ridiculous, I'm gonna be honest with you. But we were trying to promote the stream. It's just really funny that they got it on camera. Anyway, stream starts. Nick game immediately on. And so is the $20 straddle. Two early position players limp before it folds around to me in the small blind, and I look down at King 7 suited. Now, in the prior game, I would just go all in, but that's because I knew I was gonna get called by worse. In this game, I wasn't so sure yet. I mean, this was the very beginning of the stream. So I just make it $200 instead, before the guy in the $10 straddle goes all in. Not ideal, not loving it, because I've never played with him before. So I don't know how wide he's doing this. And I literally say that out loud.
I don't really know how tight you are, Lee, to be honest. Are you super tight?
Ask Tank.
Do you mind if I answer? Can I answer over here? He's not super tight.
So I snap, and he has Queen 10 of diamonds. We agree to run it twice, and on the first board, King High is actually good. So I get rid of my knit button before we run the second board, where despite the fact that I flop a straight draw and a flush draw, his pair of queens does end up holding, so we chop this one up. Obviously would have liked to win both of those, but I'm also a little bit glad that the stream didn't get too bloody too early. In the next hand, remember how I said that this stream was going to be as much, if not more action than the last stream? Well, in the last stream we had the $80 straddle on, but in this one, we have the $160 straddle on. What the hell? That was definitely surprising. But what comes as a surprise to absolutely no one is that Corey Iron makes a move in order to win that dead money. He looks down at his cards, and if I know Corey, he's gonna go all in. And he does. Yeah, definitely expected that one. So in the same breath that he says all in, I snap him off with King Jack suited. It folds back around to Tanner, who actually has a decision, but ends up letting it go, and Corey shows me King 5. That is an absolute dream spot. And honestly, I'm perfectly poised for a double up here. But I ask him if he wants to run it twice, and even though Corey never runs it twice, he ends up agreeing to this time. I wonder why. Funny enough though, he actually flops 2 pair on the first board, which is kind of annoying for me because now I'm fighting for a chop. On the second board though, even though he technically has outs in the form of a chop, I river trips and end up winning that board, which means we're gonna chop it up. But then a little drama happens. Out of nowhere, Corey frustratingly says, "One time for the rest of the stream." And I'm sitting here like, what the hell? What a weird response from chopping in a situation where you really weren't supposed to chop almost ever. So I kind of laugh it off and make a joke being like, yeah, except for me, right? You definitely owe me a 2-time. And he goes, no, one time for the rest of the stream. And you can see it on my face. I'm really pissed off about this. He always runs it twice. Now he wants to run it once because he's behind. I don't know. It was weird. But it also became a joke for the rest of the stream. Because anytime anybody would be all in pre-flop, after they would win or lose, they would always go, one time, rest of the stream. I don't know. It was just kind of funny. In game though, as annoying as that was, I chose to just let it go and focus on the next hand. Even though I'm really here to win, this is also a live stream where there's a lot of different dynamics involved. So in this next one, I play a quick one, which was actually kind of funny from like a social perspective. A super fun player opens, I make the call in late position, before my buddy Kyle from before ISOs and makes it 130. The fun player folds and I decided to give him a little action, but in reality, unless I flopped a strong draw or like two pair or something crazy like that, I was shutting down pretty hard post-flop. And funny enough, I do flop a deuce, but when he checks it over, I don't think that's enough for me to bet.
Can't fool me, weather boy.
I check it back, looking to improve on the turn, but it comes a 7. He now bets and yeah, sneaky Kyle can't fool me that easily. I just thought that hand was kind of funny from like a social perspective with the narrative going on, and also from the fact that, guys, look, if you're gonna make a kind of wide call pre-flop, you need to flop something to continue. And no, I don't mean bottom pair on ace queen deuce. Just happy that I was showing a little more discipline than last time. In this next hand, the $20 straddle is on once again, and the under the gun player limps. I don't know this guy. He was the one person that I really didn't know. Everyone else I had been like briefed on. Anyway, he limps, and the cutoff limps as well, before the button makes it $100 to go. I'm in the straddle, and I look down at pocket fives, so I actually make the call before the under the gun player goes all in for 500 bucks. It folds back around to me, and I snap call. There's too much dead money in this pot, and he doesn't always have to have aces to do this. That's my motto. But although he doesn't have aces, he does have a very strong hand where all of his outs are live. That fact being especially crazy because then the flop comes 8 deuce 3 with 2 spades, turn comes a queen, and at this point I'm prepping for it. The ace of the king is surely coming on the river, right? But it's an offsuit 7. So I end up stacking him and finally making some of that money back from before. I always feel especially good when something like that happens too, because I hate limp jammers. I love when the poker gods kind of punish that stuff. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but yeah, in all seriousness, feels really good to win a flip. In this next hand, I definitely had to play some street poker. It folds around to me on the button and I raise 8-6 suited. Now, an important aspect to remember in this hand is that I don't have my nip button, but the other 2 players in this hand do. So I knew it wasn't going to be necessarily that easy to take it down, as generally in the nit game, players are stickier, but I mean, I could always just like hit something, right? Nope. It's ace jack 5 with 2 clubs. I mean, sure, I have backdoor diamonds, but not loving this board. Brittany checks, Sergio checks, and even though I don't have a strong hand right now, I can definitely rep one. So I bet $50 and only Sergio makes the call. The turn is the 3 of hearts, and yeah, at this point I have a decision. I know 8 high is not good, but it's also pretty likely that he doesn't have ace X, because if he did, he probably would have just gone with it pre-flop the way this game was playing. So even though I don't turn absolutely anything, I continue betting for $175, and he thinks it over for a while before making the fold. That's a result we were very happy to see. Then we get into a particularly interesting spot, especially because the nit game dynamic isn't really applicable here. Tanner raises the button to $50 before I look down at king jack suited in the big blind. Out of position with 40% of a royal flush? Yeah, the price to play is going to be a bit higher. Because I'm out of position, I make it $200 to go, but what I'm definitely not expecting is for Kyle to wake up with a hand that he thinks is good enough to go all in. And to a lot of other stack sizes, I probably would have folded, but he jams for like 700 bucks and I've already made it 200, so it's only 500 more to call to win like 1,500. Like, that is crazy good price. And I have exactly the right hand to do it with. But it's kind of sick because legitimately we choose to run it twice, which is my preference anyway. I mean, I don't mind running it twice. I mind when people change back and forth between if they're running it once or twice. Anyway, distraction. The first board comes out and we just flop a flush, like check mark right off the bat. And I assumed that I would need a jack on the other board to have any chance of scooping his pot, but I flop a flush draw and turn another flush. I mean, I guess at this point it would be fair to say diamonds are a girl's best friend. Especially because after that hand, that meant that I was actually up around $2,000, which was unbelievably hype, especially after yesterday. I really needed that. Now, in this next hand, we have diamonds again, and I'm gonna need you guys to hear me out on this one. The $25 straddle is on, and a super aggressive player opens to $75. When I say super aggressive, I mean not tight. He was in the mix, and when he was playing hands, he was playing them very aggressively. When he sensed weakness, he was going for it. When he had value hands, he was betting really thin. What am I saying? I mean, he literally just opened, you guys. There's not a whole lot I can tell about his range as of this point. Then, Tanner goes all in for 400. Corey folds, so action's on me in the small blind. Now, the other important thing to note about this hand is that even though the knit game wasn't on, there was an additional incentive for the small blind specifically to win a hand. If you look closely at the button, there's a lot of chips on it. Simply put, every time the small blind would win a hand, they would also win the additional bounty. And at this point, that bounty was worth an additional $125. Now, back to the action. I have king, queen of diamonds and a bit of an awkward decision. Tanner made it about 400, remember? So a normal raise size would be like 4x since you're out of position, so basically like $1,200, but that's literally like half my stack. Because again, I started the hand with like 2.8K. So looking to isolate Tanner in this hand and just run the cards 1v1 and win the bounty, I go all in here. And the hijack cannot believe his luck because he has pocket aces. Again, it looks a little bit like a punt when you can see his hand, but you guys have to understand, if I can get him to fold better, for example, if ace jack folds when I jam, this jam is printing money. Long run, that is. He just happened to have aces this time. Anyway, we agree to run it twice, and my entire stack is at risk here because he has me covered. The first board brings absolutely no help for me, but the second board brings a small ray of hope in a massive pool of darkness. I flop a diamond draw and actually hit it on the turn, meaning we chop up Tanner's money, and holy Christ, am I so excited. I never thought I would be this happy about a chop, but this is what happens when you're aggressive. Sometimes you're gonna run into it. Armed once again with a deep stack, I thought this next hand was gonna get pretty interesting, and boy was I right. $20 straddle is on, so I make it $60 to go with 10-9 of spades. Folds around to the kid who looks almost terrifyingly like my ex, who makes the call in the small blind. No, like, seriously, a lot like my ex. Same haircut and everything. Anyway, the super aggressive kid with aces from the last hand makes it $225 to go. I'm suited and live and really deep with this guy. So I make the call and the other kid in this hand makes the call as well. The flop comes 4, 6, 7 with 3 spades. My fake X checks before the aggressive player bets 200 once again. And at this point, I have a decision. I want to find a way to get it all in as soon as we possibly can. And considering the fact that he bet into 3 people on a very dry connected board that generically favors the caller's range, I kind of put him on a lot of like overcards or overpairs that also contain a spade. Not to say that I'm really worried about the spade coming, I'm just saying a lot of the hands that I thought he would continue betting with would contain a strong spade. So I actually chose to raise this time to 600, and my fake X folds before the aggressive player goes into the tank. I mean, he thinks it over for a while before letting it go. No. Devastating, but I mean, considering he had aces, glad to crack him, you know what I mean? Also, twice in a row versus me? Crazy. That definitely required that I run a bit well. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I don't think anyone would complain about that. This next hand, though, might have some complainers. Just listen to this action. My fake X raises from early position to $60 before my fake current boyfriend makes the call. That's Corey. And no, we're not actually dating. And I call on the button with ace jack offsuit. The small blind calls, the straddle calls, and the double straddle calls as well. Let's just say we were all looking for a dream flop, but for me, it actually comes. It's king, queen, 10 with 2 hearts, meaning we flop the absolute nuts in a $400 single raise pot, mind you. It goes check, 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 check. Everybody checks to me, but I'm not checking. If anybody has hearts, I don't want to let them see a free card. Also, I can definitely get called by worse, right? Can someone have king 10 or king queen one time? So I bet $200 before something very surprising happens. The small blind goes all in for 1.2K. Okay, interesting. Couple people fold, but then my fake X goes all in as well? I didn't know he was into 3-ways. That was crazy. Oh God. Anyway, I'm not shying away from it. I have the nuts, so I flick it in. And I'm absolutely astonished to see that both of the other players in this hand also have ace jack. I'm a little bit nervous to see that they both have hearts, but I mean, they would have to go backdoor to get me on that one, and I was gonna make a backdoor joke. You guys get the gist. We chopped this pot up, everything was crazy. Anyway. After the craziness from that last hand had subsided, I go on to play another big pot, but this time, I have pocket queens. I make it $75 to go before it folds around to the big blind, who 3-bets me to $250. We're actually so deep here, and I'm really not loving who specifically 3-bet me. So I actually choose to play this one a little bit sneaky and call in position. The flop comes king 5-4 with 3 spades, meaning I have the second nut flush draw, as well as my pair of queens. I'm pretty curious to see what Brittany's gonna do here, given that this board is so monotone, but she chooses to bet 200. And now I have a decision. I think it's pretty clear here that she either has aces, ace king, jacks, maybe. I guess my point is to say it's really clear to me that she's strong. I mean, she bet just a little bit over a third, which definitely isn't getting a fold from me, but I wonder if we ever just raise here? In the end, I kind of thought to myself that we were deep enough that I actually think I could get a bluff through here. That's right, I'm turning a pair of queens, which could literally be the best hand right now, into a bluff. She just has too many other stronger hands that beat me at showdown, but again, would be really uncomfortable facing a ton of aggression on this type of board. So I choose to raise to $450 instead. And she makes the call, pretty much proving my theory that, yeah, she definitely has one of the hands that I mentioned. Not sure which one though. So when the turn comes the 10 of spades and she checks it over to me in flow, now I have to ask myself, how likely is it that aces or ace king or whatever she's repping has the better spade? I think frequently enough that we definitely want to check back this board. So that's what I do, and the river comes in offsuit 4. Now, if she did have a really strong hand, like pocket kings or ace king with the ace of spades, I think she would bet, but she doesn't. She just checks it over to me, which leaves me with one decision. I go all in, and she's not happy about it, which immediately tells me I made the right decision. It seems like she wants to fold, so I tell her she can pick one, but she picks the spade, of course, and ends up folding. I mean, to be fair, with her exact holding, I don't think she was calling anyway, but at least if she picked the queen of diamonds, it might have been more of a sweat. Anyway, we pick up a pretty sizable pot there before we go on to play this next hand. And yeah, this one is gonna get pretty spicy versus Brittany once again. Actually, one more thing. Do you guys know how many times I've run into aces this stream? This is ridiculous. Like, I have been running pretty well against it, but statistically, 3 times in 100 hands? That's crazy. Anyway, in this next hand, I get dealt spades again. It's ace-9 of spades to be specific. The $30 straddle is on this time, and I'm first to act. Normally I would just raise this, but given the fact that the Nick game was on and there was tons of shorter stacks behind me, that really just had a ton of incentive to put maximum pressure on the other opponents in the hand and go all in, I choose to just limp this time. The problem is, Brittany limps on the button, the aggressive player in the straddle limps as well, before Tanner makes it $150 to go. Now, here's where I make a pretty gross miscalculation. I thought that $150 would kind of be enough for me to play heads up with Tanner. What I'm trying to say is, I thought the other 2 players would fold. Well, at least a lot of the time. But when I make the call, both of them call as well. I mean, again, not in love with how I played this hand at all, but I'm here to tell you what I did, and a little bit of what I wish I would have done. Especially when the flop comes ace-9-3 all hearts. here, I blunder for the second time because Mr. Aggro checks, Tanner checks, and I flop top 2 pair, so I do choose to bet, but I hate my sizing. We went 4 ways to this flop. I mean, it's very likely that people are gonna have a lot of draws on this board. So why I didn't go with a smaller sizing? Who knows? Why I didn't raise pre-flop? Who knows? I gotta stop beating myself up for that, but yeah, this hand was just stupid because then Brittany calls and Mr. Aggro makes it $700 to go before Tanner folds and get out of the way. Now, here's the problem, okay? I'm pretty sure I have a good idea of where I'm at this hand in this exact moment. Given the action up to this point, I think it's pretty likely that Mr. Aggro is on a super draw. Think pair plus heart, or maybe some type of naked strong heart. But the problem is that given the way that this hand played out, Brittany could also be on a super strong draw. The more I think about it, the more I'm fairly confident that I have Mr. Aggro crushed. But the wild card in this hand was Brittany, because I'm not entirely sure where I'm at with her. I flick my eyes over to her stack and see that she's got about $2,000 to start this hand. So if I call the 700 and she does just have a draw, I'd expect her to fold. But if I call the 700 and she's got a super strong hand, I'd expect her to jam. So I call and kind of hold my breath. But she goes all in, which is something I did not love to see. And neither did Mr. Aggro. I mean, he tanks for a couple minutes before finally deciding to let it go. I knew I was ahead of him. She might have gotten me on this one. I mean, the second he folds, I instantly start laughing. I know I don't have the best hand anymore, but now it's really just a matter of getting an exact count of her chips so I can see if I have the mathematically correct price in order to make this call. But she just has a little too much, so I end up folding and she shows me the nuts. Well, technically she showed me the king of hearts when I asked to see a card, just to reiterate my theory that she's nutted. Yeah, I probably wasn't calling either way. Gave her back exactly what I took from her in the last hand though, so it evens out. And that was pretty much it, you guys. I was in for $1,000 and ended up cashing out for about 4.1K, which means I actually ended up profiting 3.1K on this stream and $100 over the course of 2 days. Mind you, that could have been a lot more had I not torched it off in the first day, but I'm just gonna treat it as a really great learning lesson for me and never do that shit again.
Wow, that was the hardest way I've ever had to crawl back. But to be honest with you, when you're down 3K, being down 300 is a huge win. Wow, it's just a bit tough to keep playing post-stream when you're sitting with 5K in front of you that you care about losing, care a little too much about losing, maybe impact your decisions type of care. But overall, had a great time and I'm proud of myself for hanging in, battling back. I still hate the way I played that palm pot though.